The stars had always called to humanity, a whisper of distant worlds and endless possibilities. Commander Elias Trent had heard that call since he was a boy, staring at the night sky from the worn balcony of his home on Earth. Now, years later, he stood aboard the Horizon Voyager, the flagship of Earth's first mission to the star system of Virelia. The planet below shimmered like a jewel, its oceans glinting in shades of blue and green, while cities of alien architecture sparkled across the continents, reaching skywards with crystalline towers. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades, yet Elias felt the familiar flutter of nerves in his chest. Diplomatic missions were always dangerous, even when conducted with the utmost care, and the pride of an alien civilization was something that could not be predicted. The ship's crew moved efficiently around him, their voices calm and precise as they completed the final checks for landing. Elias adjusted his ceremonial human exo-armor, designed to look impressive yet functional. The armor was sleek, but bulky compared to the elegance of alien attire he had seen in reports and holograms. Its purpose was both protective and symbolic. It represented human strength and ingenuity, qualities that Earth hoped would earn respect in the galactic community. Yet, standing here, seeing the alien world sprawling beneath him, Elias could not shake a small, nagging doubt. Would this armor impress the Virelians, or would it invite ridicule? The landing was smooth. The Horizon Voyager touched down in a plaza that opened into the heart of Virelia's capital. The aliens gathered as the hatch opened, their forms striking in shapes, colors, and movements that were at once familiar and strange. They were tall, lithe, with elongated limbs, and a skin that shimmered faintly under their planet's twin suns. Their eyes, larger than human eyes, reflected an intelligence that was almost unsettling. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward, the metal of his armor clinking softly as he moved. At the forefront of the crowd stood the princess herself, Liara. She was radiant, her presence commanding the attention of everyone around her. Her eyes scanned the humans with curiosity and something sharper amusement. The moment Elias came into view, her lips curled into a small, knowing smile. He felt it before he even heard her voice, a light, musical tone that carried a weight of both authority and amusement. "Well, humans," she said, her voice carrying across the plaza, "you bring your warriors in shining shells, yet I wonder if inside they are as impressive as outside." The words struck like a blade. Elias kept his composure, yet his chest tightened. The armor he wore, meant to inspire awe, was suddenly the subject of ridicule. Around him, the humans shifted uneasily, sensing the princess's mockery. Some of the younger crew members looked embarrassed, their confidence shaken by her laughter. But Elias had faced challenges before, in far more dangerous arenas than this. He knew that pride and respect were different things, and earning respect often required more than appearances. He inclined his head respectfully, letting the gesture speak for him. "We come in peace, Princess Liara. Our armor serves to protect us and symbolizes our dedication to this mission. We hope our actions will speak louder than our appearances." Her smile widened, though her eyes remained sharp. "Actions, yes. Words are easy for humans, I am told. Let us see if your actions match the strength you display." The tension was palpable. The aliens around her murmured quietly, observing Elias with keen interest. They were intelligent, strategic, and cautious, trained to read the subtleties of diplomacy and behavior. Every movement Elias made was being analyzed, every word measured. Yet he did not flinch. He stood tall, letting his calmness convey confidence. A hand reached for the ceremonial signaling device at his side. With a soft click, the device projected a holographic display in the air, showing a large arena used for testing skill and strategy among the Virelians. The princess gestured toward it. "If you wish to prove your worth, Commander, you will demonstrate your abilities in our arena. Many have tried. Few have succeeded. Let us see if humans are different." "If," Elias nodded, a plan forming in his mind. He understood that the princess was not merely testing strength. She was testing perception, intelligence, and adaptability. The humans were seen as physically weaker, slower, and perhaps less graceful. Yet these assumptions were exactly what he could use to his advantage. The walk to the arena was tense. The crowd parted for the human delegation, whispering among themselves. Elias could feel the weight of their eyes, the judgment, and the curiosity. Liara walked beside him, her gaze almost teasing, following every movement of his armored body. "You are slower than you think, Commander," she said lightly. "That armor is heavy, cumbersome. Perhaps it suits your people, but it will not win you favor here." Elias did not respond immediately. He observed her, noting the pride that radiated from her posture and the faint amusement in her voice. He understood that pride was a powerful motivator for the Virelians. But it was also a blind spot. She believed she had already assessed him, yet she had not yet seen what humans could do when they relied on skill rather than appearances. Inside the arena, the atmosphere shifted. The space was vast, its walls lined with translucent panels that displayed the history of Virelian champions. Statues of great warriors, their forms elegant and powerful, looked down upon the participants. Elias's human crew followed behind, whispering quietly among themselves, their anxiety evident. They had trained for this mission, yet the weight of being judged by an alien civilization was unlike any exercise on Earth. Liara turned to Elias, her expression both challenging and amused. "The first test is simple," she said. "Move through the arena and complete the course. Do not rely on brute force. Use what makes you human. We shall see if you are clever or merely loud in your armor." Elias considered her words carefully. She was not asking for a fight. She was asking for ingenuity. The armor he wore was protective, but hindered fluid movement. A choice presented itself. Continue relying on the armor and risk being slow and clumsy, or demonstrate adaptability by revealing what lay beneath. He stepped into the center of the arena, letting the sunlight reflect off the polished metal of his armor. The crowd murmured, some laughing softly at the unusual appearance of a human in bulky protective gear. Liara's gaze did not waver, but her smile hinted at anticipation, as if she already expected to see weakness. The challenge began. Elias moved deliberately, testing the terrain, noting the patterns of the obstacles. The armor clinked with each step, making him appear heavy and awkward, just as the princess had predicted. Yet he observed carefully, identifying the points where his flexibility could compensate for the armor's bulk. Liara watched closely, her eyes narrowing. She had expected a simple display of human strength, but Elias was doing something else. He was analyzing, calculating, and adapting. Her amusement shifted to curiosity. The humans, she realized, were not entirely predictable. The first obstacle required balance and agility. A narrow beam suspended above a shallow pool of liquid that shimmered with alien minerals. Elias approached it cautiously. Letting the armor's weight anchor him, he swayed slightly with each step, adjusting his movements to maintain stability. The crowd gasped at his precision, though some still whispered about the cumbersome appearance. "Not bad," Liara murmured under her breath, though it was clear she was intrigued. "Perhaps humans have some skill after all." Elias continued, his mind focused not on impressing the crowd, but on completing the task. The next challenge involved a series of levers and moving platforms that required timing and foresight. He paused briefly, studying the sequence, then advanced. The clink of his armor was louder here, but each movement was measured and deliberate, showing an intelligence behind the physical action. As he reached the final section, the princess spoke again, her voice carrying across the arena. "You have done well so far, human. But remember, appearances matter. How will you prove that what is inside matches what is outside?" Elias's heart beat steadily. He had been waiting for this moment. The armor, while symbolic, was also a limitation. He knew that revealing his true form not as a challenge to the princess but as a statement of human adaptability would make the point. Slowly, deliberately, he unclasped the armor, letting the metal plates slide away, revealing the lean, agile human form beneath. Gasps echoed through the arena. Humans were expected to be less impressive in alien eyes, and yet here stood a man whose strength, speed, and confidence were clear even without protective gear. Liara's eyes widened, her earlier amusement replaced by astonishment. She had expected weakness, and what she saw instead was skill, poise, and intelligence manifested in human form. The crowd fell silent, not from fear, but from awe. Even the advisors and attendants of the royal family exchanged impressed glances. Elias moved with precision through the final challenge, his body responding fluidly to the obstacles, solving them with a combination of intuition and calculated reasoning. When he reached the end, he stood tall, breathing steadily, his eyes meeting the princess's. The silence stretched, then broke with murmurs of approval and quiet admiration. Liara, for the first time, found herself without words. The first part of humanity's journey in Virelia had begun, and it had already surprised the galaxy. Elias had not only completed the challenge, but he had shown that humans were not defined by appearances or assumptions. There was strength, ingenuity, and courage beneath the surface, qualities that no armor could fully contain. For the first time, Princess Liara looked at humans with a new perspective. They were clever, resilient, and unpredictable, a species that could not be dismissed or mocked so easily. Elias had earned more than attention. He had earned respect, and in the eyes of the princess, perhaps even curiosity. The plaza outside the arena buzzed with whispers. Humans and aliens alike were talking, analyzing, and wondering what this species from a distant blue planet might achieve. Elias's mind, however, was already on the next challenge. He knew that respect was only the beginning. To truly represent humanity, he had to show not just strength, but wisdom, courage, and the enduring spirit that had brought them to the stars. As he looked back at the princess, her expression slowly shifted from mockery to admiration. The game was far from over, but the first victory, the victory of perception, courage, and human ingenuity, was his. The stars above Virelia seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging that humanity had arrived, not merely as visitors, but as a species to be reckoned with. Elias turned to his crew, giving them a brief nod. They had watched, learned, and been inspired. Humanity's story on Virelia was just beginning, and already, it was clear that the galaxy would remember their arrival. The crowd in the arena remained silent for a few moments after Elias had completed the challenge. Then, a wave of murmurs swept through the Virelian spectators, not mocking, but filled with curiosity and awe. For the first time, humans were being seen not as fragile outsiders but as a species capable of intelligence, agility, and courage. Elias's crew exchanged quiet smiles. They had trained for this mission, but witnessing the moment unfold in front of alien eyes was more powerful than anything they had imagined. Princess Liara's expression was still unreadable. She had expected the human commander to be clumsy or overconfident. Yet he had completed the obstacle course with precision and intelligence. Her amusement had vanished, replaced by something closer to intrigue. She had not anticipated that the human's actions would reveal such unexpected skill. "You move well without your armor," Liara said finally, her voice calm, though it carried a hint of respect. "But this was only a demonstration. The arena tests physical ability, and you performed admirably. Now we shall see if your mind is as sharp as your body." Elias inclined his head, acknowledging her words. "I am ready to demonstrate whatever you deem necessary, Princess." She smiled faintly, a spark of challenge in her eyes. "We will have a test of strategy then, a game that requires foresight, adaptation, and subtle cunning. Many Virelians believe it to be impossible for outsiders. Let us see if humans are exceptions." The arena transformed before their eyes. Holographic walls rose, projecting a labyrinthine layout with obstacles that shifted and changed. At its center sat a table with an intricate device, a puzzle combining elements of logic, pattern recognition, and quick decision-making. Liara gestured toward it. "You must reach the center and activate the device. The labyrinth will adjust as you move. Fail, and you will be trapped until the next cycle." Elias's eyes scanned the shifting walls. The Virelians had perfected challenges that tested both mind and body, ensuring that participants relied on intelligence as much as strength. Humans had never faced anything exactly like this, but adaptability was their strength. He took a deep breath, centering his thoughts. "Observe first," Liara suggested, raising an eyebrow. "You will have only one chance to reach the center. Any hesitation, and the labyrinth will overwhelm you." The crowd held its breath. Elias stepped forward, carefully watching the patterns in the walls. He moved deliberately, making small adjustments to each step. As the floor shifted slightly beneath him, the labyrinth reacted instantly, walls sliding and obstacles rotating to challenge his path. It would have been easy to panic, but Elias had learned that quick thinking and calm observation were far more powerful than speed alone. He noticed a pattern emerging. The Virelians, elegant as they were, designed their challenges around expectation. They anticipated direct approaches, assuming that outsiders would either rush or freeze. Elias, however, thought differently. He paused at a junction, letting the walls shift around him, then moved sideways rather than forward. The labyrinth adjusted, but not fast enough to block his path. His human instincts for improvisation and adaptability gave him an advantage the Virelians did not expect. Princess Liara leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she watched. "Interesting," she murmured. "He does not follow the path they expect. Clever. For a human." At one point, Elias encountered a section where the floor tilted and rotated, threatening to throw him off balance. Other participants might have hesitated, but he used the tilt to his advantage, vaulting with precision to a stable platform. Each step required judgment, timing, and courage. He was not merely moving, he was solving a puzzle in real time, combining intellect with physical skill. The crowd grew louder with each successful move. The younger Virelians whispered to each other, astonished by the human commander's ability. Even the more experienced members of the royal court exchanged glances, as if acknowledging that they had underestimated this species. Finally, Elias reached the central platform, where the puzzle device awaited. The device was a complex arrangement of rotating rings, sliding tiles, and energy nodes. Observing it for a moment, Elias understood the principle behind it. The rings had to align in a specific pattern to unlock the activation sequence. It required spatial reasoning, memory, and timing. He began to manipulate the device with steady hands. The rings shifted under his touch, the tiles sliding into place, the energy nodes aligning with precise calculation. Each movement had to be deliberate, yet fast enough to beat the timer embedded in the holographic interface. The audience was captivated, watching the human concentrate, adapt, and succeed. Liara remained silent, her pride as a Virelian competitor challenged in a way she had never anticipated. She realized that humans were not limited by expectations or tradition. Their ingenuity came from thinking differently, not following predetermined rules. Her amusement had been replaced by an almost grudging admiration. When the final node clicked into place, the device emitted a soft hum, indicating activation. Elias stepped back, breathing evenly, and raised his head to face the princess. He had completed the challenge, not with brute force, not with overwhelming technology, but with a combination of observation, patience, and adaptability qualities the Virelians respected more than any show of strength. The crowd erupted in applause, though it was not the loud, chaotic reaction typical of a simple spectacle. This was admiration tinged with awe. Even the youngest observers whispered among themselves, eager to understand how a human had accomplished something so complex. Liara approached Elias slowly. "You have done well," she said, her voice calm but carrying a new warmth. "I confess, I did not expect this. Your people are clever beyond what our records suggested. Perhaps we judged too hastily." Elias inclined his head, his expression composed but humble. "We have learned from observation and experience, Princess. Humans may seem simple at first, but we adapt quickly. We value ingenuity and perseverance above appearances. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Adaptability. Yes. That is something we sometimes lack. We rely on training, tradition, and expectation. Yet you have shown us that an outsider can challenge even the most established systems with thought and courage. Perhaps humanity deserves more than mockery. Perhaps respect. The words hung in the air like a promise. Elias had not come to Virelia to conquer or dominate. He had come to show that humans were capable, intelligent, and courageous. In doing so, he had begun to shift the perception of an entire civilization. The princess motioned for the human delegation to gather around. "You have proven yourselves today," she said, "but do not misunderstand. This is only the beginning. There are still lessons to learn, both for humans and for Virelians. Perhaps together, we can achieve something remarkable." Elias nodded. "We are eager to learn and to contribute, Princess. Humanity believes that strength is not only in the body or the mind, but in cooperation and understanding. We hope this can be a start of mutual respect." "We?" The princess smiled faintly, a hint of warmth touching her expression. "Perhaps it will be, Commander. You have earned not only attention but also curiosity. That is a rare gift, even among our own people." As the crowd slowly dispersed, murmuring about the human who had defied expectations, Elias's crew gathered around him. They were visibly relieved and excited. This mission was always about more than survival or diplomacy. It was about proving humanity's worth in a galaxy that often assumed humans were weak or primitive. Today, they had taken a significant step toward that goal. Elias looked at the princess one last time before leaving the arena. She was still observing the crowd, her expression thoughtful. He sensed that this was more than a simple challenge. It was a test of perception, pride, and understanding. She had seen a human succeed where she expected failure, and in doing so, humanity had made its mark. That night, the delegation returned to their quarters in the Virelian palace. The humans were exhausted but exhilarated. They had faced a species far more advanced than themselves and had emerged with their heads held high. The corridors of the palace echoed with discussions of strategy, agility, and adaptability. Even among themselves, the Virelians were talking about Elias's performance. It was rare that an outsider impressed so profoundly. Elias stood on the balcony of their quarters, looking out at the city lights of Virelia. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting a gentle glow over the crystalline towers. He thought about the journey ahead, the challenges, negotiations, and discoveries yet to come. Humanity had proven something today. But this was only the first step in a long process of earning respect and trust among the stars. A soft voice beside him startled him slightly. Liara had followed, her presence quiet yet commanding. "You are different from what I expected," she said. "Not only strong and clever, but patient. That is a quality that will serve your people well." Elias smiled faintly. "We learn quickly, Princess. We adapt, and we persevere. That is how humans survive and thrive." She looked out at the horizon, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "Perhaps you are right. I have underestimated your species. I will not make that mistake again." For a long moment, they stood in silence, two leaders from different worlds, understanding that the galaxy was larger and more complex than either had imagined. In that silence was a recognition of capability, of potential, and of the beginning of a relationship that might one day shape the fate of both their peoples. As the night deepened, Elias returned to his quarters, his thoughts focused on the future. The arena had tested more than skill. It had tested perception, judgment, and courage. Humanity had passed, but the road ahead was still long. There were more challenges to face, more alliances to build, and more opportunities to show that humans were a force to be respected across the stars. And somewhere in the heart of the palace, Princess Liara thought about the human who had defied expectation. She did not know what the future held, but she knew one thing with certainty. Humans were not to be underestimated. The stars above Virelia shone bright that night, as if acknowledging that a new chapter had begun. Humanity had made its mark, and the galaxy had taken notice. The next day, the sun rose over Virelia, with a brilliance that made the crystalline towers glow like scattered diamonds. Commander Elias Trent and his crew prepared for the day's activities, knowing that the first challenges were only the beginning. The princess, Liara, had requested a private demonstration, one that would test humans in ways beyond physical agility or strategy puzzles. The anticipation was palpable, for the entire city seemed to watch from a distance, curious about the humans who had impressed their royal family. Elias's team assembled in the palace courtyard, a wide-open space framed by elegant spires and flowing water features. Liara was already there, her posture graceful, eyes sharp as they scanned the human delegation. "Today, Commander Trent," she began, her voice carrying easily across the courtyard, "you will demonstrate adaptability and insight. You will face challenges designed to test perception, timing, and understanding of unexpected situations. Many Virelians fail because they trust too much in what they know. Humans, perhaps, may succeed because they think differently." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the expectations. He understood that respect had been earned, but admiration had yet to fully settle. This day could cement humanity's reputation among the Virelians, or it could expose limitations they had not anticipated. The first part of the challenge was deceptively simple. Small drones, no larger than a human hand, whirred into the air and began a complex flight pattern. Their movements were swift, unpredictable, and designed to test reflexes and decision-making. Humans were not naturally attuned to such high-speed patterns, but Elias approached it methodically. He observed the drones for several moments, noting their timing, speed, and tendencies. Then, moving with precision, he began intercepting their paths, redirecting or avoiding them with a mixture of careful anticipation and quick reflexes. The crowd watched in awe as he moved with a calm confidence that seemed to anticipate every motion. What was particularly remarkable was that he did not simply react, he predicted and adapted. The drones shifted unpredictably, but Elias's human intuition allowed him to keep pace. Liara's eyes followed every movement, her expression changing from curiosity to admiration. "He sees patterns others cannot," she muttered to herself. "This is not just reflex. This is insight." Once the drones were neutralized, the next part of the challenge began. A platform rose from the center of the courtyard, revealing a series of interlocking panels with symbols that glowed faintly. The goal was to navigate the platform without triggering the wrong sequence, which would reset the challenge entirely. Many Virelians had failed at this, relying on instinct alone rather than careful observation. Elias paused, analyzing the panels. Each symbol corresponded to a sequence in the drone's previous flight pattern. Recognizing the connection, he began stepping across the panels, moving in harmony with the patterns he had observed moments earlier. The platform lit up in response to correct movement, while incorrect steps would have reset the device. His crew watched, tense and silent, knowing that the human commander's success would define their standing with the Virelians. Step by step, Elias moved across the platform, confident and deliberate. The princess herself leaned forward slightly, her expression serious. She had never seen a human combine observation, memory, and timing with such precision. When he reached the final panel, the device hummed and emitted a soft glow, signaling completion. The audience exhaled collectively, some in relief, some in astonishment. For the first time, the humans had navigated a challenge designed specifically to confuse and overwhelm outsiders with ease. But Liara was not finished. "You have done well with observation and timing," she said. "Now you will face improvisation. Not everything is predictable. Not everything can be studied in advance. Adaptation is what separates the exceptional from the ordinary." From the edges of the courtyard, a series of mechanical constructs emerged. They resembled moving statues, designed to test not only agility but also creativity and problem-solving. They blocked paths, adjusted positions, and sometimes appeared to respond to Elias's movements, creating an environment that constantly challenged expectations. Elias assessed the constructs carefully. He could have attempted to rush through, relying on speed alone, but he knew that would be foolish. Each construct had its pattern, yet none followed predictable logic entirely. His strategy became one of observation, patience, and selective action. He moved through the courtyard, sidestepping, vaulting, and sometimes waiting, allowing the constructs to reveal their tendencies. The Virelian spectators were enthralled, whispering among themselves about how a human moved not with brute force or programmed reaction, but with a thoughtful, adaptive rhythm. The constructs tried to predict him, but he responded in ways that were fluid and innovative. At one point, a large construct blocked his path, its arms swinging in a seemingly random pattern. Elias studied it, noticing that the swings followed a sequence that repeated every few seconds. He timed his movement precisely, ducking and rolling under one swing, then vaulting over the next, landing gracefully on the other side. Even Liara allowed herself a small, impressed nod. Finally, he reached the central area, where a final challenge awaited, a console with a series of buttons and levers. The sequence was not logical at first glance. The correct combination required understanding the patterns from the previous obstacles and applying them in a new way. Elias took a deep breath, recalling each movement, each drone, each panel, each construct. Slowly, methodically, he began pressing buttons, flipping levers, and adjusting sequences. The device hummed and then glowed brightly. The courtyard filled with light as a soft chime resonated through the air. Elias had completed the improvisation challenge successfully. The crowd erupted, not in laughter, but in cheers and applause. Humans had not only survived the test, they had excelled. Liara stepped forward, her expression thoughtful, a mixture of pride and surprise. "Commander Trent, I have underestimated your people," she said. "You are not merely strong or clever. You are creative, adaptable, and resilient. Your species has qualities that few outsiders possess. Today, you have proven that humans are capable of facing the unpredictable and succeeding, where even seasoned Virelians might falter." Elias inclined his head respectfully. "We have learned to survive, Princess, not just through strength or skill, but through adaptability, observation, and cooperation. Challenges like these test more than physical prowess. They reveal the spirit of a species." Her eyes studied him for a moment longer. Then she smiled, a genuine expression that carried respect and perhaps a hint of admiration. "I see now why your people have reached the stars," she said. "It is not only courage that drives humans, but ingenuity and the willingness to adapt. These qualities are rare, and they are valuable." The human delegation exchanged smiles, their pride evident, but tempered by the awareness that this was only one step in building trust and respect. They had impressed the Virelians, yes, but the journey was far from complete. Elias knew that diplomacy and collaboration would require more than feats of skill. They would need understanding, patience, and continued demonstration of humanity's unique qualities. As the day drew to a close, Liara invited Elias to walk with her along the palace gardens. The paths were lined with luminous plants and softly glowing streams, creating an atmosphere of serene elegance. "You have earned respect," she said, her voice quieter now, more personal. "But I am curious. Humans have impressed in these challenges, yet there is more to your species than skill and adaptability. What drives you?" Elias considered her question. "We are driven by curiosity, Princess, and the desire to understand. We face challenges not only to survive, but to grow. We learn from our mistakes, and we adapt. That is why we explore, why we venture to worlds like yours. We are small compared to the universe, but we strive to leave our mark, not through domination, but through achievement, understanding, and resilience." Liara listened, her eyes thoughtful. She had encountered many species, each confident in their superiority, each expecting humans to be weak or easily dismissed. Yet Elias's words carried sincerity and a quiet confidence that was difficult to ignore. She realized that humans were indeed different. They were unpredictable, not reckless, and their spirit was something that could not be measured merely by size or strength. "You speak wisely, Commander Trent," she said finally. "Perhaps humans have a place among the stars that even we did not anticipate. Today, you have shown me that appearances are not everything. The true measure of a species lies in courage, creativity, and the willingness to face the unknown." Elias nodded, feeling the weight and promise of her words. The path ahead was still uncertain, and challenges remained. But today had proven that humans could stand on equal footing with the Virelians, not as subordinates or outsiders, but as respected participants in a galaxy that valued ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. As night fell over the city, the palace glowed softly under the twin moons. Elias returned to the human quarters, reflecting on the day's events. The challenges had been difficult, designed to test every aspect of human capability. Yet they had succeeded. More importantly, humanity had earned a reputation, not through aggression or domination, but through intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Somewhere in the palace, Princess Liara remained awake, pondering the human commander who had defied expectation at every turn. Her mind, trained to evaluate strength, strategy, and intelligence, had been challenged in ways she had not anticipated. Humans were more than she had assumed, capable, resourceful, and unpredictable. She realized that this was only the beginning, that the presence of humanity would shape the future of Virelia in ways she could not yet predict. For Elias and his crew, the day had been exhausting yet invigorating. The respect they had earned was tangible, felt in the gazes of the Virelians, and in the words of the princess herself. But more than respect, they had demonstrated that humanity was a species that adapted, observed, and overcame. That was a lesson that no armor or weapon could convey. It was a truth that resonated deeper, reaching into the very nature of who they were. And in the quiet moments before sleep, Elias allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had faced an alien civilization, had been tested in ways unlike any before, and had emerged with honor and respect. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but humans were capable of thriving, not just surviving. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready. The morning sun bathed the city of Virelia in a soft golden light, casting long shadows over the crystalline towers and shimmering streets. Commander Elias Trent stood on the balcony of the human delegation's quarters, looking out at the vibrant alien city. The events of the past 2 days had been exhausting but rewarding. Humans had faced tests of strength, skill, and intelligence, and they had emerged with the respect of a proud civilization. Yet Elias knew that respect was fragile. The true test was building trust and alliances, not just impressing others in displays of capability. Liara approached him quietly, her presence as graceful and commanding as ever. She had chosen to meet him outside the ceremonial halls, seeking a candid conversation. "Commander Trent," she said, her tone calm but serious, "your people have surprised me in ways I did not anticipate. Strength, intelligence, creativity. You have shown all of these, but there is another aspect I wish to see. Your ability to inspire cooperation." Elias turned to face her, his expression steady. "Humans believe that true achievement comes not from individual skill alone, Princess, but from collaboration. Strength is multiplied when we work together and understand each other. We are willing to share knowledge, ideas, and resources if it leads to mutual benefit." Liara studied him, her eyes thoughtful. "Words are easy. Actions are more difficult. Will your people demonstrate that principle beyond these tests?" Elias nodded. "We are ready to do so." A short walk brought them to the palace's council chambers, a vast room with holographic displays showing maps, star systems, and trade routes. Several Virelian advisors were present, their expressions ranging from cautious curiosity to skepticism. Liara addressed the council. "Commander Trent has demonstrated remarkable capability and insight. Now, I propose a joint mission. Humans and Virelians will work together to explore the nearby system of Erythra, a place rich in resources but fraught with environmental hazards. This will test our collaboration, our problem-solving, and our trust in one another." the council murmured, some showing hesitation. Erythra was a challenging system, and sending teams into unknown territory carried risks. Yet the princess's words carried weight, and the council's curiosity was piqued by Elias's reputation. Elias stepped forward. We will approach this mission with careful planning and mutual respect. Humans have faced unpredictable environments and overcome them. We will share our knowledge and adapt to your technology and methods as we work together. After a brief discussion, the council agreed. Preparations began immediately. Human and Virelian teams coordinated, studying environmental data, equipment, and protocols. Elias observed how the Virelians approached problems with precision and tradition, while humans brought flexibility and creative thinking. Differences were evident, but instead of creating conflict, these differences became a source of strength. The day of the mission arrived. The ships lifted from the palace courtyard and soared into space, moving toward Erythra. Elias piloted alongside a Virelian counterpart, Liara watching from the command deck with an expression that mixed pride and anticipation. The journey was smooth initially, but as they approached the planet, challenges arose. Turbulent magnetic storms interfered with navigation, and unusual atmospheric phenomena threatened the mission. Elias calmly coordinated with the Virelians. Adjust the shields to compensate for the magnetic flux, he instructed, his voice steady. We need to synchronize our systems, or we risk losing navigation control. The Virelians adapted quickly, their trust in him growing as he demonstrated not only knowledge, but also the ability to integrate human and Virelian technology seamlessly. Together, they stabilized the ships, avoiding disaster. Upon landing on Erythra, the teams faced the next challenge. A vast, rocky terrain, with sharp canyons, shifting sands, and unpredictable weather. Humans moved with agility, analyzing routes and hazards, while Virelians used advanced sensors and mapping tools. By combining observation, instinct, and technology, the teams progressed further than either species could have alone. Liara observed Elias leading discussions, balancing caution with initiative. He listened to Virelian suggestions while offering alternative approaches based on human experience. The teams encountered unexpected obstacles, a sudden sandstorm, a collapse of a rocky ridge, but each time, collaboration allowed them to adapt and continue. Hours passed, and the teams reached a central plateau that offered a stunning view of the planet's surface and hidden resources. Elias took a moment to reflect. Humanity had not only proven itself individually, but had now demonstrated the ability to work as equals with an advanced civilization. This was more than skill. It was character, ingenuity, and the power of cooperation. Liara approached him, her eyes reflecting the beauty and danger of Erythra. Commander Trent, you have done more than impress. You have inspired trust. Your people are not only capable of standing alongside us in challenges, but they also elevate the entire mission through cooperation. This is a rare and valuable trait. Elias inclined his head. Trust is earned through action, Princess, not words. We will continue to prove that humans are worthy partners, not just for today, but for the future. As the day ended, the teams returned to their ships, carrying samples and data that would benefit both civilizations. The journey back to Virelia was calm, allowing reflection and discussion. Humans and Virelians shared insights, jokes, and observations, forming bonds that transcended species and culture. When they returned, the city welcomed them with quiet celebration. The successful mission had proven the value of collaboration, intelligence, and adaptability. Humans were no longer simply visitors. They were respected partners. The palace courtyard, where mockery had once echoed, now became a place of acknowledgement and admiration. Liara met Elias once more, her expression softened. You have shown that humans are more than their appearances, more than assumptions allow. You have demonstrated courage, creativity, and integrity. Today, humanity has earned not just respect, but friendship. Elias smiled faintly. Friendship is built on mutual understanding and shared challenges, Princess. We are honored to have both with your people. The crowd, both human and Virelian, watched this exchange with interest. The once distant humans had become participants in the galaxy's story, capable of facing dangers, solving complex problems, and inspiring trust. It was a moment of recognition, not through dominance, but through shared achievement and the courage to act thoughtfully in the face of uncertainty. Later, as night fell and the twin moons of Virelia reflected across the city, Elias walked through the palace gardens alone for a moment. He thought of the journey ahead, the challenges humanity would face in space, the alliances yet to be built, and the opportunities to show that courage, intelligence, and adaptability were hallmarks of his species. The stars above seemed brighter now, filled with potential and promise. Humanity had begun to write its story in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as partners, innovators, and explorers. They had faced the judgment of an advanced civilization and had proven themselves worthy. Somewhere nearby, Liara watched from a distance, her mind full of possibilities. The human commander had surpassed expectations in every way. She realized that humans were not just resilient and adaptable, but also inspiring. Their presence could change the course of her people's understanding of the galaxy and of cooperation among civilizations. Elias returned to the delegation quarters, satisfied but mindful of the journey ahead. There would be more challenges, more opportunities to prove themselves. But the foundation had been laid. Humans had earned respect, forged alliances, and demonstrated that their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability could meet the demands of a vast and unpredictable universe. That night, the palace lights twinkled like stars on the ground, reflecting the possibilities that lay ahead. Elias knew that humanity's journey was just beginning, and that the path forward would be filled with both challenges and triumphs. Yet one truth was clear. Humans were a species capable of remarkable achievements, able to inspire and earn trust across the stars. The story of humanity on Virelia was no longer one of uncertainty or underestimation. It was a story of ingenuity, courage, and respect, a story that had just begun to unfold, and one that promised to leave an enduring mark on the galaxy. As he looked out across the horizon, Elias allowed himself a moment of quiet pride. The armor, once a symbol of protection, had been removed. And yet it was not weakness that was revealed beneath it. Instead, it was the true strength of humanity. Resourcefulness, courage, intelligence, and the willingness to face the unknown with resolve. Princess Liara, somewhere in the palace, understood now that her initial mockery had been misplaced. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were capable, unpredictable, and inspiring, and perhaps, in time, they would become one of the most respected civilizations in the galaxy, not through fear, but through achievement, cooperation, and the quiet strength of their spirit. The stars above shone with quiet approval. Humanity had arrived, and the universe would remember their presence.